March 20th, 2020. Pink balloons and streamers swayed to the sound of the air conditioner in the corner office. Stacks of overstuffed folders, chairs, and the floor were littered with pink confetti. Suddenly, a spontaneous girl power dance, complete with exaggerated hip movement and a vacuum as a makeshift microphone, overtook Patience. During her groove, she bumped into the desk, sending a few paper clips scattering and causing something to tumble from its perch, landing softly with a thud. Patience moved her cart and reached down to put some half-torn wrapping paper into the trash when a glimmer met her eyes. An oval-shaped necklace beckoned for help. The 24-karat gold handcrafted necklace managed to wedge itself between the trash can and the desk leg. It must have joined her during her dance moves. Patience heard it sigh in relief when she rescued it, grabbing it by the chain and watching the pendant hypnotize her with its sway. As she stood up, her eyes found a dated family picture sitting on the desk. She clenched her jaw as she skimmed over the father in the picture. He looked smug, and she looked away, remembering the same look her father had. "Wonder if you love your daughter," she mumbled to the picture as she placed the trash in her large bin. The pendant vibrated rhythmically and unsettling in her hand as she fidgeted with it. Her arm twitched, and then a tingle of her great-grandmother's Creole accent, soft and rhythmic, drifted through her mind, echoes of the stories she'd been raised on. Her mother's retelling of these stories of destiny wrapped around her like a snake in its prey. Legends of ancestors who took what they needed, or maybe what they felt they deserved. The whispers of ancestors offering directions drowned out the vacuum next door. She willed the sensations to awake within her one last time. Patience's shoulder gave an involuntary jerk, remembering the past. When she was 5, she stole her neighbor's earrings. Nothing. No sensations from the back seat of the cop car either, after believing stealing a particular dress would give her powers. Good thing her sister Rue had tagged along. The cop recognized Rue from the TV commercials with her wealthy father before they booked her, or she would have missed prom. "Why do you keep doing things like this?" Rue questioned Patience as they left the police station. "Are you really convinced those stories Mom told us were real?" Patience stared off in the distance. Yes. She closed her eyes and drifted to her happy place. At 15, Patience figured out that the therapist she started seeing after the earring incident was having an affair with her married father. The sessions felt like a game of who could be more deceitful. Patience convinced her therapist she stole to get her dad's attention. She convinced herself that she was kleptomaniac adjacent. Adjacent because she equated the thrill of getting caught with the sensations she was promised. Plus, she could stop at any time she wanted to. After her arrest, she got a new therapist and made a promise to him and herself to never steal again. Even though she hated being part of the Landry family, she didn't want to dishonor her mother. But was it stealing if her ancestors paved this predestined path for her? The necklace reignited her battle between destiny and morals. The sound of her boss calling them in for a meeting shook her back to reality. The gold chain dangled like a smile as she slipped it into her uniform pocket. She gathered her bins and her vacuum before heading to the break room for a meeting with the others. Moments after the emotional meeting, she quietly moved past her co-workers who sobbed loudly in the hallway. Patience hit the button on her key fob, and the hum of her Mercedes responded from across the lot. The seat warmers kicked in just as she slid into the leather seats. The heat creeping up her back released all the guilt from the theft. A small comfort in the mess of her collapsing plans. The college books that usually rode shotgun once again shared space with her takeout dinner. "Something called coronavirus," my boss said. Patience handed a slice of ginger-infused pepperoni pineapple pizza to her roommate Kathy, a trust fund baby. "It's been all over the news. I was wondering why you brought home your depression meal." Kathy picked the pineapples off her slice. The pieces dropped onto her napkin like candy corn. Patience shrugged, her eyes distant, picking them off too, like little danger signs, remembering she only ate that kind of pizza because she lied to a guy for 5 months that she loved it. Patience's cleaning uniform laid crumpled in the corner of her room, vibrating softly. The necklace she stashed in the pocket hummed like a forgotten whisper, but her mind was too tangled with her failed plans to notice. "Have they closed the school yet, Patty?" Kathy pointed at Patience's shirt. Patience's routine involved slipping into a college shirt given to her in December for early enrollment, a cozy reminder of her new future. After working nights at that meaningless job, she found a sense of purpose in admiring herself in the shirt. And as if her phone heard her hopes and dreams, it dinged. "School's closed until further notice," Patience read from her email. Her shirt now felt like an itchy costume for a role she no longer had a chance to play. They would eventually have remote classes for the summer courses, but Patience needed to be around people. It's how she thrived. Her eyes drifted toward the phone screen, where the photo of her mom smiled up at her. A pang of familiar guilt tiptoed back in. No one had questioned why she stayed home that year, tending to pill bottles and appointment reminders. It was easier than to admitting the real reason. She wasn't welcome back at school. Her dreams to be a human resource specialist were just a few mere credits away. And now, just like her mother's illness, it felt like the entire world was catching something that would derail her plans all over again. As her phone went to black like her hopes, she rolled her eyes as she had to do the one thing she never wanted to do, use her father's wealth as a cushion. She'd seen what their father's money had done to her oldest brother, how easily it turned kindness into arrogance, generosity into control. Even though her younger brother and sister managed to escape the haughtiness surrounding the Landry money, she didn't want to tempt faith. Weeks melted into months with no job offers. Patience perfected the COVID cheat code, lying on her resumes. Those years out of college were spent nursing her mom and lying on dating apps. She stopped inviting men to her parents' house after one showed up with ratatouille ingredients. Her mom's laughter echoed from the next room as Patience fumbled with pots and pans, pretending to be a gourmet chef, her lie unraveling with every slice, her fingers dangerously close to the mandolin blade. She quickly recovered, batting her gray eyes suggestively, convincing him he was so stunning she couldn't even fathom concentrating on cooking. They ordered pizza. A tech job that ended after one meeting left her frozen at the projector screen, stammering excuses to clients while her palms grew clammy. She had claimed on her resume that she had Microsoft certification. It was the last job she got fired from when her roommate Kathy piped in, "Why do you keep getting fired? I know the jobs are slow in the middle of this pandemic, but this is ridiculous. You get the jobs others can't get, and you manage to lose them just as fast." Patience didn't want to admit it, but COVID hadn't touched the Landry name once she added it to her resume. Her father's connections always opened doors, no matter what the world was facing. "I need to look at your resume and your dating profile while we're at it, 'cause that last guy that came here wearing mountain gear, I thought he had the wrong apartment." Kathy nodded at Patience's diamond-encrusted nails as she grabbed the laptop. "Ha ha." Patience rolled her eyes, shifting to ease the still sore ankle she twisted on that hike, thanks to him. Kathy paused, tilting her head as she scrolled through Patience's resume, her brow furrowing. "Computer programmer, forklift operator." She mumbled disbelief, lacing her voice. "Patty, when did you learn sign language?" Patience let out an exasperated sigh, her arms crossing defensively. "Who is this person?" Kathy gestured at the screen. "In high school, you wouldn't even dissect that frog, but here you got first aid certification?" Patience made a heaving sound, the sharp scent of formaldehyde flooding her memory, making her automatically pinch her nose. "Project manager? You mean Project Runway?" Kathy wiped tears from her eyes, trying to catch her breath and suppress the laughter bubbled from deep within her, her support failing at every line she read. "What about the cleaning job? That one was real, right?" Kathy's eyes shifted towards the crumpled uniform still on Patience's bedroom floor, prompting Patience to look over, her heart skipping a beat as she remembered the necklace. Patience snatched the laptop back from Kathy. "Is your dating profile this colorful? Remember sophomore year when that guy made you prove your dad was rich? He also wondered why you didn't have any scars on your legs." Not my fault my parents sheltered me from having any fun, so I invented her. This Patience is amazing. Patience caressed her legs, her mind drifting back to the afternoon spent stuck inside with her mother, maintaining the image that the Landry children didn't get dirty or do manual labor. She almost missed the days when she didn't have to keep up that lie. You were so dramatic. We went out a lot as teenagers. Kathy hid her smirk as her fingers mischievously sent a group text to Patience's closest friend stating, "Intervention, our place, tonight." An hour later, her three closest friends, drinks and Chinese food in hand, dissected Patience's dating profile. Their eyebrows danced with each lie. "No wonder you keep getting bad dates. You are not who you say you are." After hours of back and forth, Patience adjusted her dating profile to show her real interest and likes. Patience mouthed boring as she hit submit on her profile page. Patience removed every lie off her resume except the HR certification. She figured by the time she got a job interview, she would have finished the courses and taken the test. After her friends left, Patience grabbed the necklace. She flipped it over on its back. Engraved was H.P. Have patience. Her mom told her that every single night of her childhood. Her eyes softened as she heard her mom whisper, "Have patience, Patience. Things will come at the right time." Patience stared into the mirror, the strange-looking pendant catching the light as it swung softly against her skin. At 25, Patience had expected to feel more settled, more certain about her place in the world. Instead, she was standing there, marveling at a stolen necklace, hoping it might make her life click into place. Those gray eyes looking back at her weren't supposed to be hers. They belonged to the firstborns, the chosen ones of the family's bloodline. Yet, they were staring back at her, questioning why. Maybe this was it for her, like the necklace. Finally, for the first time in a long while, Patience allowed herself a small, authentic smile. The necklace swayed in agreement. Over the months, the necklace seemed to hum with possibilities, its quiet magic weaving into her daily life. At first it was subtle. Parking spots opened up like an invisible hand guiding her to the front. Her favorite cafe table, usually occupied, stood empty just when she needed a moment of peace. One afternoon, a chance meeting with a stranger there left her clutching a business card for an HR company. In her haste to submit her resume, she inadvertently forgot to remove the HR certification. The interview that followed felt like a whirlwind. Traffic snarled ahead, the clock ticking closer to her appointment time. She gripped the steering wheel, bracing for the worst. Then the road miraculously cleared, and she slid into the perfect parking spot out in front. In the interview room, she didn't stumble or second-guess herself. For once, her words felt smooth and honest. Walking out, her confidence surged, though she clutched the necklace, convinced it was the true source of her luck. They hired her on the spot. At first, concerns about her not finishing college sinked into her mind, but no one seemed to care. Patience was a natural. The Landry charm kicked into overdrive. Employees who came to her with workplace concerns left feeling satisfied their issue would be resolved. Some even wrote letters of praise to her boss about her technique. Word spread, and she was assigned to lead workshops on supporting employees. She and her lucky charm quickly moved up the company in a short 2-year time frame. "You need to apply for the Human Resource Assistant program with our sister company," her boss said as he entered her office, after her last presentation earned her an enthusiastic applause and commendations from the management team. After he left, Patience slumped in her chair, both exhausted and rejuvenated. She glanced around at her certificates of recognition on the wall, and she realized she was in the right place. She instantly sent in the same resume. "You can start next week," the interviewer said, shaking Patience's sweaty hand. "Welcome aboard." As she stepped out of the building, a familiar vibration pulsed against her chest as if celebrating her victory, whispering affirmations of destiny and possibility. Patience's smile widened, confidence swelling within her. This was only the beginning. "I got the HR job. I start Monday." Patience handed Thomas a slice of her favorite pizza, plain cheese, and grabbed the remote to find Project Runway. Babe, look at you. First you find your dream man, and now your dream job, he teased, biting into his slice. Patience smiled at her boyfriend, then gave a soft, self-satisfying, not so boring, under her breath. It all seemed to happen at once, she thought as she handed Thomas a napkin. The same week she got the job, she met him on a dating app. He checked all her boxes: no outdoorsy adventures, a love of takeout, and a shared appreciation for old movies. As their relationship grew, Patience felt a kind of freedom she hadn't expected. For once, she hadn't fudged a single detail on her dating profile, and now she didn't need to keep up any fronts. Before bed, Patience texted her siblings the good news. Only her baby sister texts back with the pink hair thumbs up emoji. I knew you could do it. See you in a few weeks. Patience admired the freedom her baby sister enjoyed. When their mom was diagnosed with MS, Rue was 15 and already had 3 modeling gigs under her belt and a firm belief that mom's stories borderlined on fairy tales. You can't be this gullible, can you, Patty? Rue decided at 6 living in the real world was a much better place than to tempt the gods of sensations. The next week arrived right as scheduled. Patience entered the building, donning a lucky necklace. She hadn't taken it off since the intervention with her French. She squeezed her hand for relief after the first 20 pages of paperwork she had to sign. I know it's a lot, but you are working for a security company and everything is confidential. Here's your first assignments. Patience's desk sunk under the folders. Friday afternoon, she got an email asking her to meet with the head of HR on Monday morning. The head of HR looked up when Patience entered, her face unreadable. A photo of Heather's 3-year-old daughter sat on the desk, surrounded by other personal touches that made her office feel lived in. Thanks for coming in, Patience. Please sit down, Heather said, her voice cool as she motioned to the chair across from her. We're updating our security system, and a few new employees' profiles were flagged for discrepancies. Yours came up because there is no record of your HR certification on file. She gestured towards her resume on her desk. Patience's stomach twisted. Her certification? With all her whirlwind good luck, she totally forgot about getting that certification. She forced a smile. Oh, I thought I sent it in. Maybe there's been a mix-up. Heather studied her for a long moment, giving a faint nod. I thought that might be the case. That's why I wanted you to come in and clear it up. Patience's heart pounded as she offered a quick, nervous laugh. Yeah, I could definitely get it to you, she replied, but the words felt hollow, echoing in the stillness of the room. Without thinking, she caressed the pendant between her thumb and forefinger before it softly fell against her chest. Heather's gaze drifted to the pendant, and her brow furrowed. Her fingers brushed on her own collarbone like she was searching for something long gone. Her expression turned taut, guarded, and Patience noticed her jaw clenched slightly as she looked back at her. Where did you get that necklace? Heather asked, suddenly, her tone sharpened with something that felt colder than curiosity. Patience's hand moved to the pendant, not noticing the cool sensation between her fingers. It was a gift from my family, kind of special to us. She forced herself to hold Heather's gaze, but something in that woman's eyes made her shrink. Heather leaned back, her voice a low, steely thread. Turn it over. Patience hesitated, the blood rushing in her ears, but finally she flipped the pendant. There, etched into the back, were the initials she hadn't thought twice about in years. H.P. Heather Peterson. Heather's face hardened, her eyes narrowed. That necklace belonged to my grandmother. We share the same initials. I hope to pass it down to my own daughter one day, thinking I had lost it forever, she said, her voice catching slightly before turning glacial. I assumed you thought COVID would hide the theft. I see you worked for a company that oversaw cleaning the office I worked at before I left for maternity leave. The accusation hit like a blow, and Patience's mouth went dry. She stammered, I didn't, but Heather didn't let her finish. People who lie to get what they want usually don't care what they take along the way. This necklace and your missing certification speak for themselves. Heather reached for the desk phone, her eyes never leaving Patience. Security, please send someone up. Patience's heart thundered in her chest, her gaze darting to the doorway, the sound of footsteps in the hall making her blood prickle. She clutched the necklace as if it could protect her from the storm she brought upon herself. She finally felt the cold, the weight of it, suddenly heavy, like a chain. Heather's voice dropped, carrying an edge that sliced through the room. The necklace isn't just valuable for its sentimental worth. It's worth enough to make this a felony, and you'll need to return it to avoid more severe consequences. She paused, a grim satisfaction in her eyes. I'm sure security can explain the rest. The door opened. A tall security guard stepped in, his gaze steady on Patience. Heather tilted her head, her voice icy. Leave the necklace and my office. Patience rose shakily, her hand trembling as she unclasped the necklace and placed it on Heather's desk. She barely heard the guard as he gestured her towards the door, as her thoughts a whirlwind of fear and shame. Her so-called good luck had vanished, leaving her to face the consequences alone. As she walked out, each step felt like a closing of a door she'd never open again.